Hello, I'm C.L. Fisher, a code-based artist from Toronto. Random Encounters covers the last 2.5 years of my work with combining pseudo-randomness with my love of language and of the mythology of the Common Era. I hope you enjoy the show. You can find more of my work at clfisher.com, and I post works in progress on Instagram at clfisher_art. Two Helens is sourced in Yusuf Karsh's photographs of Helen Hayes and of Helen Keller. I made charcoal drawings from his images and then divided them into sections and rearranged them by chance. The fragmentation and recombination of the base images speaks to the unreliability of our mental images of our elders, of the near truths, misattributions, and utter fabrications that make up the stories of our predecessors. In 2019, I started manipulating the pixels in existing images, developing methods that let me give my process a set of parameters, then walk away for several hours while it sorts the pixels and the underlying image according to my instructions. This image is based on a portrait of Claudette Colbert. The title refers to the blowing of the trumpet in the last scene of It Happened One Night, destroying the walls of Jericho. The first 25 images from my Assorted Actresses series formed the basis for a project where people voted on which images they liked best, and then I used that information to generate more images. See my website for those results. Based on a photograph of Judy Garland, this piece captures a little of the overstimulation of arriving by yourself, well, except for your dog, in a place of too many colors and too many people. This piece, based on a publicity shot of Ava Gardner, retains more of the flavor of the original than the other pieces in the series. The process of creating the pieces was deliberately limited to 4 hours for each image. And while this one was running, I had to travel for an hour and shut my laptop to take it with me. Hence, it had fewer iterations through the process and ended up in a rawer state. I chose the titles for the Assorted Actresses pieces before generating them. I based each title on something about the actress, usually the title of a movie or a quote from one. Although I'm a fan of Golden Age movies, I haven't seen much of Jean Harlow's work. She was the archetypal blonde bombshell. The title refers to her movie Dinner at 8. It's one of my personal favorites in the show because of the play between the title and the resultant image. This is based on a photograph of Rita Hayworth and refers to a song sung in the film Gilda. That song includes the line, "One night she started to shim and shake, that brought on the Frisco quake." So there's some lucky correspondence between the title and the result. This piece is based on an image of Mae West. The title comes from an exchange one of her characters had with a coat check girl. The coat check girl said, "Goodness, what beautiful diamonds." And Mae West's character said, "Goodness had nothing to do with it." Maybe it's just the suggestion of the title, but I see diamonds. This piece is based on John McNeill Whistler's arrangement in Gray and Black #1, also known as Whistler's Mother. A large swath of my work is rearranging pixels, so I couldn't resist working with this. This is a smaller reworking of a piece I did for an exhibition on grit. No matter what you may think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's judicial stances, she was an exemplar of that particular virtue. I used shapes derived from the words of Ginsburg's opinions, United States versus Virginia, and Burwell versus Hobby Lobby, arranged with a random element to mimic Ginsburg's trademark collars. Once upon a time, or so the stories go, Canute the Great set his throne by the sea and commanded the incoming tide to halt, deliberately demonstrating the limits of his power. One day in 1983, a 767 ran out of fuel over Red Lake due to an Imperial metric mix-up. Luckily, the pilot had experience in non-powered flight, landing without casualty at a former Air Force base. This image is based on a photograph of that plane, the Gimli glider. The forces of nature care little for we puny humans. Or in other words, gravity sucks, man. It is said that L. Frank Baum deliberately set out to create an American fairy tale with his books about the fabulous land of Oz. It's fair to say that he succeeded, if not directly, then through the adaptations of his work, especially the 1939 movie, The Wizard of Oz. The colors in this piece come from that film, and the shapes from the first of Baum's Oz books, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. For the insatiably curious, I've provided a deep dive into the making of Twister at exhibitions.clfisher.com/random_encounters. Necessity, compulsion, inevitability. These are the province of the goddess Ananke. This piece marries color from the Notre Dame fire of 2019 and shapes corresponding to the letters in an English translation of Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame. All right, so in mid-2020, I embarked on a new series of works based on words randomly selected from the Oxford English Dictionary. This is the first in that series. Using the repeated children's prayer, "Now I lay me down to sleep," to govern the length of each line segment, pronation suggests the process of falling over at the end of a long day. This is the second in my series based on random words from the OED. The word numerous put me in mind of great herds of sheep. Sheep follow a kind of alpha sheep known as a bellwether. So I based this image on the idea of masses following leaders. That it ended up looking like crewel work, that's needlework that's done with yarn, often wool. That was a bonus. There are 11,279 sheep. Rise and Fall was made by first connecting a constrained random point to all the corners of each of the two images with a thick stem, then repeatedly picking random points in the image to connect to the nearest not background point, with some secret sauce for choosing the color of the lines. My tendency to see familiar things in abstract patterns both mystifies and delights me. Pondering abstraction, representation, and reality, ceci n'est pas une boîte, but also how we decide if an image is representational or abstract, and if it is representational, whether the thing it represents is real. This is based on a photograph of a dear friend with a space bra on her head, because nebulae are pretty. February 30th, 1712 was a real thing. You see, Sweden made an early attempt at gradually switching over to the Gregorian calendar by eliminating leap years for a while. They skipped the first one, but with wars and such, they kind of forgot to skip the next couple of leap years. So eventually they decided to just go back to the Julian calendar, which they did by adding a day in 1712. 1712 was already a leap year, so the added day was February 30th. So this piece is constructed from one straight line for every day from February 30th, 1712 to January 1st, 2021.